Hello and welcome to NewsClick for our live discussions on the Haryana and Jammu and Kashmir elections. We have with us Bappa Sinha, our expert on such matters. I won't call him a psephologist because he's not one, but nevertheless we are going to ask you, Bappa, psephological questions. What in this election, and we'll start with Haryana, what are the main conclusions you have after looking at the election data and the map?
Right. So, Haryana, as we know, is the shocker, right? All the exit polls had predicted a Congress victory to a Congress sweep, and that hasn't happened. BJP...
On the contrary.
On the contrary, BJP has an absolute majority. BJP has 49 seats, Congress way below at 36, so it looks like BJP is forming the government. Amongst the main conclusions is that while the Congress vote share has gained significantly, about 11%, but the BJP vote share, instead of coming down, has actually gone up. What has happened is JJP, which won about 9 to 10 seats last time, has got wiped out, and that JJP vote has got split between Congress and BJP, but the Congress has fallen short, right? Congress is about 1% below BJP in vote share and about 13 seats less than the BJP.
Bappa, let me interrupt you. They were ahead of BJP in vote share in the beginning of the counting. In fact, for a considerable period of time, they're trailing in the seats. So it does seem to indicate that the vote share did not translate to seats in the way that we were expecting before. Of course, now BJP has a slight edge in terms of vote share also, which would seem to indicate that Congress has got big margins on some of the places, but overall terms, their numbers have come down.
Right. And Congress has done, where Congress has won, they have won big. Right. For example, in the Mewat region, if you look at here, Congress is winning by close to 1 lakh votes in one assembly constituency. Look at this, Congress is winning by about 50,000 votes. Here, about 25,000 votes. And again, by around 30,000 votes. Just these 4 constituencies, Congress is way ahead of what is required to win. So where Congress has won, I mean, this is of course a Muslim-dominated area, so Congress has swept. While in the rest of the state, it is the margins are smaller. I think geographically there are 3 very distinct features that, like if you look at Haryana, one is this belt along the Punjab border, which is where the farmers' protests were concentrated, and Congress seems to have done reasonably well in this region. Then you look at the southern Haryana, which is the regions around Delhi, the Delhi NCR region, which is Faridabad, Gurgaon, and this part of this belt outside of the Mewat region, which is Muslim dominated. This belt BJP has swept, but BJP was expected to do reasonably well here. I think where things haven't gone according to Congress plan is this central area of Haryana, which is also called the Jat belt, right? So Sonipat, Rohtak, Hisar, Sirsa. So in this belt, as you can see, while in the Rohtak area they have done decently, but Sonipat and adjoining areas, Hisar and adjoining areas, BJP has swept. In spite of this being the area where the Jat population is close to, while the statewide average Jat population is, let's say, about 25%, this belt has 35 to 40% Jat population, and yet in this belt, Congress hasn't done as well as it was expected to do. And I think that is what has caused the results to come out in this way.
So Huda's impact of keeping the Jats with the Congress really did not bear as much fruit as the Congress had hoped, and that's the reason, sorry, not Huda, I'm talking about the Congress leader.
Huda, yeah.
Huda,
yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting confused. Okay, so that has not worked that much.
Well, it remains to be seen. It is possible that the Jats have voted for the Congress, right? But there is also a counter-Jat polarization which has happened, and BJP has always talked about this 36 community alliance, which
Against
is
one.
Against the Jats. And in this area where the Jats are dominant, it is possible that given all the hawa of the election and all the exit polls, all the opinion polls saying that Congress will sweep, that there was a significant counter-Jat polarization which happened in this belt, and which resulted in Congress losing a lot of these seats.
So the safe seats for Mr. Huda and the Congress, that has been breached partially. Is that your major analysis?
So I think it's instructive to see, rather than seeing it from the previous assembly elections, the Lok Sabha elections which just happened barely 4 or 5 months back, Congress swept this area, right? So this is the Jat belt. So this is Sonipat, Rohtak, Hisar, Sirsa. So Congress had swept this area, and if you compare this middle part of, so leave aside Sirsa, which is bordering Punjab, but if you compare this middle part of Haryana where Congress had swept, that is clearly not happening, right? So this area Congress hasn't done as well as it was expected to do, and that I think has swung the election to BJP.
So it's not that he didn't get the Jat vote, but the counter mobilization is what you are attributing why the Congress and Mr. Huda has fallen short at the end of the day.
Right.
And also what you said earlier, that the JJP, which also had a section, the Jat vote, that's gone almost entirely to the BJP this time, looks like.
Possibly, right, yeah. Or it hasn't gone enough to the Congress to swing it in Congress's favor.
It looks like it has gone more to the BJP because that's what the grapevine was, that their voters and they are going to go
I think the other
way.
community which people were talking about are the SC votes. So if you look at the reserved seats, so there are 17 reserved seats, and here it's a mixed result. Congress has got 9, BJP has got 8, and the vote share, interestingly, the vote share is almost equal for Congress and BJP. But again, here, if you look at this belt, which is the belt, most of Congress's wins are in that belt adjoining Punjab, which is where the farmer protests were concentrated. But outside of that belt, BJP has done quite well amongst the reserve seats. So that's.
And the argument was that this is the area that the Ram Rahim factor also might have played a role. And this is an area where he has some strength, and that's the reason why possibly that some of the seats have gone there. But again, no clear picture of this kind,
Right.
except to say that in the SC seats, BJP has done better than what it was expected, and Congress has done a little worse than what was expected. So the normal understanding that Congress has a greater sway among the SC voters, that may not be true in this case, as you said, because of the Bahubali nature of the Jat influence as it is perceived by other communities. But it's still a election analysis on the basis of castes. Do you think there are other factors in play in these elections that you can think of?
So see, one clear thing is that in the belt where the farmer protests were most concentrated in, Congress has done exceptionally well, right? So this entire belt, Congress has done well, probably even better than the Lok Sabha elections, which show this the Kurukshetra area BJP winning, though it was a close fight in Lok Sabha.
And also Jindal, after all, is one of the richest men in India.
Yeah. So now, in the outside of that, see, it is a very close election, right? And
Absolutely.
So what was expected, according to the opinion polls, was that that BJP will get about 3-4% less. BJP will come out about 35%, while Congress will go to about 43%, and that hasn't happened. And the so what seems to have happened is that BJP has done very careful election management, and Congress lost in the hubris. But Congress just the expectation was that Congress would sweep. People were talking about a tsunami in favor of Congress, while BJP's election management has clearly been far better, and it hasn't been what was supposed to be a wave election turned out to be an extremely close election, and then by pure arithmetic BJP won, right? Because in a close election, because Congress has some seats where it's going to win big, BJP is...
The other issue, Bappa, which we have always discussed, that psephology may say various things, but the election is really a swing of 2 to 3% from one side to the other. And if there are only two parties which are the major oppositions, in that case, a 5% difference in vote is really a 2.5% difference in swing.
Right.
And this 2.5% you don't really catch by your, you're going out, even doing sample surveys and all. 2.5% swing is very difficult to predict. So what you are doing is you are listening to the voices, and those voices tend to be dominant voices, loud voices, whichever you put it. And so therefore, even those who know these figures, then get swayed by this kind of arguments and this kind of predictions. That seems to be what is
so
here.
actually, like one interesting point was that if you looked at the TV channels at around 9 o'clock, they were showing Congress sweeping, right? Congress getting 60, 65 seats and BJP coming at around 20, 25. Now, those were mostly postal ballots, and
Correct.
Postal ballots are primarily government servants, right? So if you go by that the postal ballots swung decisively to the Congress, right? So it does appear that the more dominant voices did swing to Congress, while you had the underbelly of society which was silently voting for BJP.
The social engineering for BJP was better.
Yeah.
And that's what seems to be borne out here. And also the fact that it could be that if Congress had calculated 2-3% will matter, they might have done a little more of alliances, which they then did not do in Haryana.
Yeah.
So that's also
like about a month before the election, there was a talk about doing an alliance with AAP, and then that fell through, and it's probably because they were overconfident. While doing that careful alliance, 2%, AAP has got around 2% vote share, so a 2% addition to Congress might make a difference in many of these seats.
Well, something to think about.
Yeah.
That 2% is not 2% in seats. In a close election, it can mean a difference of 5-6 seats.
Yeah.
And therefore, that alliances of this kind should not be thought of in what is your percentage stake, what do you bring to the table, but what do you bring to the swing. So that is one part of the election. Let's now go to Kashmir, the other.
Yeah. So this is the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. What is interesting is that they went through a delimitation exercise. So these are new constituencies. So we are not going to compare it with previous elections because it's not a fair comparison, because
Also, the number of seats in Jammu has increased, the number of seats in Valley has decreased. This area, the middle area, which is really a set of constituencies which have a different composition than the Valley or Jammu, that's also there. And Ladakh is not a part of Jammu and Kashmir, which it was earlier.
And so in Jammu and Kashmir, so there is a alliance between National Conference, Congress, and CPM, and if you add these three, you have 49 seats, which is more than what is required to form. It is pass the majority figure. Now,
There's a difference here. You not only have to pass the majority figure, you have to also pass the 5 number seats which the Lieutenant Governor can appoint, which means the BJP starts with the 5-0 to start with.
right, and so the figure which the opposition has to cross is 48, because if you add 5 to 90, that you get 95 seats, so you have to cross 47, so 48 seats to form a stable government, and with 42 plus 6, 48, and with the 1 seat of CPM, you have 49 seats. So they are past the comfortable.
Not comfortable past the majority figure, but don't forget, BJP has engineered various things in the past, so that is something that they still have to worry about. But otherwise, they've got a majority, and a majority enough to take care of the 5 nominations, which the Lieutenant Governor can do.
Right. So I think in Jammu and Kashmir, it's really 2 separate regions, right, with entirely different demographics. So we should look at Jammu and Kashmir separately. So this is the region of Jammu, and in Jammu, while BJP has done quite well, it has got 29 out of the 43 seats, but it hasn't just swept the. If BJP was going to form a government, they had to just win close to 35 plus seats in Jammu to have a reasonable chance of forming the government, and they didn't. They fell short. They got 29 seats. National Conference has got 5 seats. The interesting thing
So 7 seats here.
No, National Conference has got 7 seats, right. The interesting thing is that Congress has more or less got wiped out in the Jammu region. Congress has just got 1 seat in the Jammu region.
Which is the same as AAP. AAP has also got 1 seat in Jammu.
Even though, like, of course, with the different, AAP has just managed to win that 1 seat. Well, the Congress vote share is much higher, but they haven't converted it into winning anything.
Because they were the main opponents to BJP in most of Jammu.
Yes. So that's the Jammu region. Now, if you go to the Kashmir region, this is interesting.
Before we do go, let's go to Jammu again, back again. These are areas again which are not really the valley, and those are areas which have a Muslim majority. They're also the population which is semi-nomadic. So this area also, you see other people winning who are not part of the alliance or a part of BJP. So that's also another interesting phenomenon over here, that those constituencies seem to have behaved differently.
Right. And now if you go to Kashmir, so I think clearly National Conference has done exceptionally well in Kashmir. But the 2 other big things to note in Kashmir is, one is that PDP has pretty much got wiped out, right? The last government which was there in Jammu and Kashmir was an alliance between PDP and the BJP, and clearly the Kashmiris have punished PDP for that opportunistic alliance, and so PDP is down to 3 seats and almost completely wiped out. The other thing is that BJP, in spite of all its efforts, has not managed to break into the Kashmir Valley at all.
Not opened its account. Other thing is, a figure like Rashid Engineer had built up a lot of expectation. There is also the other parties which were fighting independently, but thought to be too close to the BJP. And particularly with Rashid Engineer, the expectation was that he would split a lot of the votes in the valley. And if he takes away a few of the seats, it would weaken the NC Congress alliance. That hasn't happened. It's interesting, Rashid Engineer did win a parliamentary seat. He defeated Abdullah. So having defeated who would be the, shall we say, the chief minister in waiting from the side, that though he defeated him, but his party made no headway in the assembly elections, and they also took him to be a person who would then weaken the opposition to BJP, and therefore this time they did not vote for him. So it's an interesting issue that the entire vote seems to have gone essentially to an alliance which was clearly against the BJP, and that seems to have almost swept the entire valley.
Yeah, we should note that there's one seat for CPM where Tarigami has now won for the fifth time. Yeah, and which is quite significant that in this area Tarigami from the CPM continues to win.
Holds sway, and he of course is a part of the alliance in this case, and also the fact that this is the first time after a long time that Jamaat has participated in the elections, and they don't also seem to have gained any traction. And I think these are important issues, that Jamaat didn't get traction, you did not get, PDP was punished, as well as parties like Rashid Engineers and the other parties also, which were expected to cut votes, have a few seats, and hopefully help the BJP get a majority with the Jammu sweep. That was the BJP's expectation. None of that has really happened, and what would be the old Gupkar alliance minus the PDP, which is really the alliance that we are talking about, that has now at least got a reasonable chance of being called to form the government. Whether what happens after that, whether things will happen in the way we expect, that's a different question. But also percentage of vote figures. There has been this talk about that Jammu and Kashmir has voted in much larger numbers than earlier. That's also not true. These voting figures are not very significantly different from other elections that have happened. And this is therefore that part of it, that this is the time that we have made vote possible, is not really true.
Right.
Okay. So that, do you have a comparison between last time and this time, say, about the vote percentages?
See, last time I think we should really compare it with again the Lok Sabha elections.
Yeah.
But in the Lok Sabha elections, see, BJP's vote share is at 24%, while so the others don't really show up because nobody won seats, and these are national conferences at 21.
Voting percentage, how many people voted and how many people didn't vote.
That we don't have. Yes.
But what the figures are, I'm seeing from the papers, that actually this is a little more than the past elections. It is not the highest as they have claimed, it's a little less than the last elections. In fact, other elections have had better polling figures than this time. But overall terms, the picture is that the kind of polarization that existed in Jammu and the kind of support that National Conference and others got in Kashmir remains still very much similar. And therefore, that polarization has deepened because Congress had seats in Jammu as well as in the valley. That now seems to have gone much more in favor of Jammu, much more in favor of BJP in the Jammu region. This is the takeaway largely from what you were saying?
Right, yeah. And so it has again, it's become in both Haryana, which is the interesting part, and in Jammu and Kashmir, it has become a bipolar election, right? In Haryana, there was always a strong third party in INLD, JJP last time. They have got wiped out. Congress and BJP together have about 80% of the vote share. And here we are seeing a bipolar election between BJP and National Conference, right? With other parties pretty much relegated to the margins.
So that's the overall situation we can see in both states. A clear victory for BJP in Haryana, a victory for the National Conference and its allies in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir. But what future will show, of course, we have to wait.
Right.
And that's all we have today for our discussions. I think we'll wind up today's live shows which we have carried out for the elections, and we'll close for today. Thank you very much for being with us and watching NewsClick as well as our live discussions of the elections.